Welcome to Life Sutras, where we have empowering conversations with thought leaders that will inspire you to be a healthier and happier version of yourself. We will explore science, the subconscious, as well as the spiritual. Good health equals harmony between many dimensions of mind, body, environment, and the unknown. Hi, I'm Aanchal Bhatia, author of Your Doctor is Not God and How to Be the CEO of Your Health. I believe that health is by choice, not by chance. I am a clinical psychologist by education and an entrepreneur by profession, and a social change agent by passion. I'm a wife and a mother of 2 boys. My husband and I are one formidable team, and that's how we founded Sydenham Clinic, a private health management clinic here in Houston. Welcome and let's explore. Welcome back to another episode of Life Sutras. I'm your host, Aanchal Bhatia, and today we have with us Mary Jo Rapini, who is not only a part of our wellness team, but I think she is a part of Houston's fabric, and she is the sex therapist in our city. She's on television twice a week. She's very active on Instagram, so you can find her there. But for all our members, they like to find her here at Sydenham Clinic, and we're very fortunate to have you. Thank you so much for coming, Mary Jo.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Today's topic is, for me, a very exciting topic because I feel that very often we are shy to talk about sex. Mm-hmm. And here at Sydenham Clinic, because our whole approach is to look at the whole person.
Yes.
And we practice lifestyle medicine. We want to emphasize that sex is not purely for survival or reproduction. It's not just for entertainment. It's a lot deeper than that. And there are a lot of benefits of sex.
Right.
For us, we at Sydenham Clinic, we do recognize the health benefits of sex, and therefore sex therapy is an integral part that we like to bring in as part of our program. Before we go into some of the health benefits of sex, I would like you to introduce yourself to the viewers as to why you picked this career, how you got into it, and your backstory a little bit.
Okay. Well, when I started out, I graduated from high school so early that my parents made me go to nursing school. And I went to nursing school, and I did not like it. But one of the things I liked about the field once I was in nursing was I was able to counsel patients and counsel children's parents, and I really enjoyed that. So I realized that I had a component that I could make a living out of and that I would really be passionate about. And so I went to school for therapy, for psychology, and then I loved it so much, I got very involved in graduate school, and I graduated, and I've had a private practice for some time. So in the beginning, I was doing marriage and family and taking care of individuals with relationships, but I didn't have the sex component. Mm-hmm. And so I realized how important that was, because for true intimacy, you need the emotional connection as well as the physical connection. And so I went back to school and did my sex training and certification. So after I had that, I started a career working as a sex therapist. And that took me to all sorts of things. One of the opportunities was TV. I used to write for the Houston Chronicle, and because I wrote blogs there, several of the TV stations saw my blogs, and they invited me to come and be on air. And then that turned into a full-time career. So currently, I'm writing books, I'm continuing to write blogs, and I'm on TV, and I get to have a private practice where I see patients, and will be working more closely with Sydenham.
And for our listeners, Mary Jo Rapini's book is called Recoupling, a 4-step guide to greater intimacy and better sex. It's available on Amazon, and we leave a link for it in the show notes. Now, coming down to the health benefits of sex, I'm not sure if all of you do realize that sex can improve your physical health. And Mary Jo Rapini will go into more in how it can improve your emotional health and the overall benefits of sex from a psychological perspective. But I want us to truly understand that there is a physical benefit of sex. And sex education does not mean only avoiding pregnancies or avoiding HIV or some sexually transmitted diseases. Sex can improve your fitness levels. We know that. It is a good exercise. Your blood pressure. It can help you burn calories. Headaches. Sleep. There's a love hormone called oxytocin that is released in our bodies. And during sex, oxytocin levels go up. And that, in turn, has a lot of health benefits. There's another immunity factor where they measured in the saliva for couples who had sex more than once or twice a week. And the IgA, immunoglobulin A levels, were higher than couples who had sex less frequently, which is less than once a week.
Yes.
So we do emphasize that it is important for us to have good quality sex, good intimate sex for the health benefits.
Yes.
But let's get into the other benefits of sex. Can you tell our listeners more as to why it's important?
Well, it's a very important part of the emotional connection. When you're having sex with your partner, you create not only a physical bond and not only an emotional bond, but there's a spiritual component. And that spiritual component is a space, the space the two of you occupy. And when you make love to your partner, it takes you into a deeper understanding and an opportunity to please each other, which is so important. And I think that's one thing you were alluding to in the beginning, that sex is not dirty. It's important to us. It's important to our health and to our mental health too, because when you're loved, when you're having sex with someone, it's a deeper connection. It's a feeling that this person knows you, this person understands you, this person wants to love you, desires you. And all of these aspects lead to a better confidence. It leads to you feeling better about yourself, taking better self-care of yourself because you feel more attractive. And it also enhances the relationship because there's a space for that you don't share with anyone else. If you grew up in a family that sex was thought of as nasty, or maybe you grew up in a religion that frowned upon having sex for any other reason except procreation, those children who grow up and are adults have more difficulty with sexuality. They have difficulty having good sex with their partner. They feel ashamed about talking about it with their partner, and they're usually the ones that I see more of in my clinic, because a lot of the sex problems have to do with retraining what they learned growing up.
That's very interesting. So we have in our subconscious mind, there are some messages that we carry from early childhood.
Absolutely.
About sex.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, for some people, they can't consummate their marriage or their relationship because of the messages they received. And those, people think you grow up, that you are in a family and you grow up and those feelings just disperse, but they don't. It's like they're saved in our cells. And until someone comes along that we find we want to invest in, we want to be with them, many times they lie dormant. But at those times, they come to the surface, and then it's important that they talk about them, that they find a space like this that's open to talking about sex. because it is so good for you. It's so important for you as a complete person to be able to be loved that way.
How does a couple even know that there is dysfunction in this area of their life? How do we know? What does a healthy sexuality look like?
That's a really good question. And you know, the answer is very interesting because it's subjective. So I have clients that have sex once a month and they're both happy and there's no complaints. They have a great sex life. I have other clients who tell me, you know, we just don't connect. They're having sex every other day. So you understand that the frequency doesn't necessarily determine how the value or the quality of it. It has more to do with how each partner feels. And that's the most important thing when you talk to a therapist, that you're able to say, I feel like I'm not having enough sex, or I feel like we're just going through the motions and I'm not getting that deeper benefit from it that I know is there.
So let's talk a little bit more about relationships.
Yes.
Because you can't have, you can have please yourself, but a sexual relationship is with two people.
Yes.
And very often the relationship is so, there's so many things so many factors that impact a relationship.
Yes.
And you had mentioned once that when I'd asked you, Mary Jo, how important is sex in a marriage? Mm-hmm. And you had given me a statistic of how important it is. And when people are getting divorced, 90% of the reason is sex. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes. It's interesting because when sex is going well for both people say we have a great sex life. What you'll hear is sex isn't the business. It's like 10% of the relationship. There's so many other things. There's, the way they hug each other, where they're going to travel, what their vision for the relationship is, how the children are doing, so many things. But when sex is going badly or one person isn't happy in their sex life, then sex becomes 90% of the marriage. It takes over. So it's a balance. It's a balance that both people are consistently talking about it. The best sex lives are had with people who spend time at least checking in with their partner. How did I please you? Does this please you? Being curious with each other. If you simply have sex the way you always had sex, you won't get that deeper connection. Mm-hmm. You can, we've seen people now, you can actually achieve orgasm just looking at each other's eyes and holding their hand. It's very interesting how couples especially, the true intimacy is because the two of them are totally invested. And that's why we don't see a lot of couples who hook up and they have what I call recreational sex, really ever appreciating that sacredness of sex.
So intimacy is a big factor as far as a healthy sexual, that's one milestone, one component of a healthy sexual life.
Yes.
You said frequency is not an indicator of a healthy sexual relationship. Earlier in the beginning, you said that there's a spiritual aspect.
Yes.
In our tradition, I come from India, so, we believe in Shiva and Shakti, and, the Chinese say yin and yang, and how the masculine and the female energies come together.
Yes. I think when I think of it like this. When you have a relationship with your God or your faith, you are making yourself vulnerable, and you are taking in, your faith gives you something, it fills you. When you have a lover, you are making yourself vulnerable, someone who you lay yourself out in a way, and you surrender to each other, and therein lies the sacredness of it. You're giving this person the power to, they could ruin you, but you're trusting them There's a sacredness in that. You're saying, I trust you. You're someone I believe in. This relationship is something I believe in. And there's a depth that's achieved through that I think, as far as raising your immune system and lowering your blood pressure and all these other health components, is enhanced when that type of connection is spiritual and deep. And what's interesting is many people never achieve that in their relationship.
And I'm sure many people are not even aspiring to achieve that. So I think what you've said today is quite revolutionary for some people who never viewed sex like that. For some people, like you said, it's a chore. It's something that just has to be done or get done with and move on.
Yeah, they look at it as a physical, like it's a performance. But sex, I guess that's one part of it, but sex isn't meant to be a performance. It's meant to be shared. It's meant to make us more vulnerable to each other. And that's why it's so important that you do a check-in, that you ask your partner, what pleased you? What did I do that pleased you? What do you like? And if you're afraid to ask that, you can understand why many people don't have a good sex life.
And you alluded to that in the beginning as well. You said it's a lot of it has to do with communication.
Absolutely. I think that is an incredibly, as important as intimacy, because the communication, the ability to talk about it, is everything. And I have couples who have been married 40 years and they can't talk about their sex life. There's so much, sometimes there's a lot of pain behind it, sometimes there's a lot of resentment behind it, sometimes it's just so deeply buried, and it's buried under shame or guilt or other emotions that have never been processed.
And culturally, many cultures, it's really frowned upon to talk about
That's
sex.
right.
And people are shy.
That's right.
Could be as simple as that.
Yes.
Now, tell me, Mary Jo, in your practice, have you noticed gender differences as far as sexuality is concerned between men and women?
There are, but I think a lot of times we assume that men all want sex, and that's more, the physical part is more important to men than it is to women. And I don't think that's true. I think what happens is women get more easily bored, if you will, because for a woman to orgasm, she needs to escape. She needs to have a sense that she can trust this person she's having sex with, and he or she is going to offer them an escape. And if you can't let go, you can't orgasm. And you can't let go if you're holding resentment or you're feeling taken advantage of, especially with household chores or with things going on, or maybe your partner is forgetful about little things like, celebrating your birthday, celebrating a raise, whatever it is.
So you're saying that for women it's emotional first, that they need to check out of their day,
yes,
or whatever is going on, and then it's an escape.
It's an escape. And there's a great book by Esther Perel.
Yes.
And it's something about dating your mate, or
it's mating in captivity.
Yes, mating in captivity.
Yes.
And I love that book because it's absolutely true. You have to keep reinventing how to build that excitement. And one of the ways we know you can build the excitement is if you can trust the person you're with to help you escape.
Well, that would take some practice, and
Yes.
that would take education. Do you have clients that come to you saying, our sex life is good, can you help us make it great?
I do, and for those couples, we usually do a search with retreats, with different classes they can go to. There's a tantric loving course that you can do. There's all sorts of things that you can do to enhance it and make it better. I think just taking a general course in communication and how to talk about sex will improve your sex life. And you know, it's interesting, Aanchal, because I work a lot with cancer patients with different cancer centers in town. And it's always like after someone has cancer and they get their treatment, the physician wants them to try and be intimate again as soon as possible. They wouldn't prescribe that if it wasn't really going to help them. In other words, the physician knows the power of intimacy, how it makes us whole again, how it makes us confident again, how it helps us trust our body again.
And heal. And
Yes.
your husband is a physician at
Yes.
MD Anderson. He's the head of dermatology, right?
Yes. And so when this happens, it just underlines it more for any of the people watching how important it is.
Does he refer patients to you?
He does, but a lot of times when he refers me patients, they don't come because I think you have to be very delicate in the way you refer. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting. Can you share a few tips with our listeners? I mean, 2021's just started.
Yes.
Everybody's got New Year goals. And for some people, COVID has taken a toll on their relationships. Although we
Yes.
might be physically together, but a lot of couples have grown apart emotionally and their sex lives may have dipped. Can you give something that can help people reignite and just recharge and start 2021 with a strong, intimate relationship?
I think I have a few things that I think will really help. The first of those is that, you know, we talk a lot about dating your mate. I think taking time and putting it on the calendar and really dating, taking turns of planning the date and put effort into it. You know, don't just go to dinner or make dinner. Don't try to do something on your own. Try not to do it with friends or with the kids. Keep it the two of you. Go take a new class, take a tango class, or try a wine tasting class, or do something that you're out and you're learning something new together. That's a big, that will promote sexual closeness and intimate feelings toward each other. And then one thing that's really wonderful is get involved with something your partner is passionate about. Let your partner be a teacher for you. When we allow them to teach us something, it boosts not only their confidence, but it makes it more fun again. Because if you think about it, when you were dating, you did a lot of that. Like your partner was teaching you things, and that's how you grew together.
You were curious.
You were curious, and it brings that back. I think when you, Saturday mornings or whatever your morning is without the children, if any of you have kids, you know how hard that is. Instead of thinking about having sex right away, I like this process of sensate focus where you just touch each other, you take turns, and you find out what feels good to each other. If you have a massage oil, that's a wonderful way to expedite that. It feels good. And touch is so important to sexuality. It gets you in the mood. And if you try and do that once a month, it will start restoring a lot of things you can't talk about. Feelings will come to the front when we touch each other. Touch is a big communicator.
So you're sort of like saying that we have to be a little more disciplined.
Yes.
About maybe a weekly date night or a weekly date morning.
Yes.
And a deeper monthly love ritual.
Yes. And I think those rituals, I like the way you said that because everybody's different. And what's a love ritual for you may not be for me. But talk to your partner and find out what means something to them, what symbolizes love. I think that is very helpful.
So now, a fun question which I ask all my guests on my podcast. Mary Jo, tell our listeners, what is your secret sutra? Sutra means rules. So what's your secret sutra for your life?
Well, I'm going to tell you all and share one that since it's a new year, my hubby and I do this every year on New Year's Eve. So we talk about what 3 things we want more in our sexual relationship. Do we want more touch? Do we want more massage? Do we want more words during lovemaking? And then I write down my 3 things very specifically. He writes down his 3, and then we exchange. And then out of those 6, we veto all but 3. And whatever 3 are left, sometimes they're from his list, sometimes they're from mine, we practice all year. And I've been married forever, and I always look forward to that. It gives our relationship vision, and it also gives it like a sense of unity. We're working together. And we appreciate it when ours actually happens in the bedroom. It feels wonderful.
Wow, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That's a great tip.
Yeah, we love it. We've done it every year.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And I'm sure our listeners have enjoyed this conversation, and they're going to take it into their bedroom, and it's going to spark some good moments of intimacy and love and ultimately good health. So until next time, thank you so much for joining us. And we look forward to doing some more episodes with Mary Jo on some specific topics within the realm of sex and health. So until next time, stay tuned. Health is by choice, not by chance. Thank you.